Hi, my name is Miki Hughes. Welcome back. This is Over the Edge. It's a podcast about anxiety where I speak with comedians and other entertainers during the pandemic to discuss what it's like without a stage and how anxiety has affected us. I have Ottawa comedian Simone Holder here, and I probably should have taken off the explicit content warning because she is also a podcaster. She's far more professional than I, and I've never seen her go off on a profanity rant like I have. I really should. I could learn a lot from Simone, so we're going to bring her up here. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Oh yeah. Oh, you can hear me back there.
I can hear you. So I was like, oh, I can rip off a profanity laced rant.
Oh,
necessary.
I feel like you could. Like I feel the potential is there. I love watching. I love watching your show. You also interview comedians.
Yes.
Yeah.
My show is called Shooting the Breeze, and I started it last year during the pandemic. And yeah, I've been interviewing comedians as well.
Yes, I didn't know that that's what you're doing. I was going to ask when you started. Mine started last November, and I didn't know that there was a podcast out there of somebody who was interviewing comedians. Because the first one I saw of yours, I was like, "Oh, a comedian! Oh, a comedian!" I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're like doing we're doing the same thing. You're just doing it better, whatever."
Because it started like when I started it May, I think it was. Last year, and I did it as a way to keep in contact with comics, like the comics that I'd like gotten to know over the year, because I haven't lived in Ottawa that long, and I started comedy here, so I didn't know a lot of people. And of course, once momentum got started, and I was getting booked more and meeting more people, everything shut down. So I wanted to keep those connections alive. So it started off as, oh, let me pick your brain live about comedy. And then it just morphed into, we just discuss, we usually start discussing like how have you coped during the pandemic? And then the conversation goes off wherever it goes off.
Do you prepare? Yeah. Do you pre-prepare for your interviews in a sense, like what you're asking, or do you just sort of keep it organic and go with the flow?
Well, when I first started, I think I had the format of I want to ask everyone the same questions. So the first season was very much, I had like, say, 12 questions that I asked everyone. And then when I started it again, I just wanted it to be a little more organic and just flow naturally. So I would start, I would have a few questions just to start the conversation, and then it would go wherever it goes after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's usually what I do. So I might have a few questions just to start the conversation, and then as we're talking, I might think of other questions. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do you wear? Like, I've never asked anybody else. What do you wear? Like, I'm wearing pajamas. Like, we all know.
Yeah, like I'm wearing, like I usually have like a proper top on, and I've got yoga pants.
I was gonna say, how do I?
Sometimes I have no pants.
I could never be a man doing this because I'd be like, "What are you wearing from the waist down?" Like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm usually like in pajamas. So
yeah, I'm usually comfortable. I'll have like a proper, a decent looking top. I might put some makeup on, do my hair.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I'm presentable from the waist up at least.
Oh yeah. Oh no, obviously. But I think sometimes I've just like gone to do like live, and I just think I always wonder what like people are wearing. Like they could just be.
Yeah, that's like, the thing, because you don't really know. You don't really know.
Am I talking to somebody wearing Crocs with socks right now? Because I feel I need to know this. Do you keep yours like censored at all? Like is it like PG-13? Is it? Because I'll put a link to your podcast as well with.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't swear very much, but I let the my guests know that anything goes. Like, just speak the way you normally speak. Like, I'm not going to tell you. Okay, like of course no hate speech or anything like that, but however they talk is how I want them to talk.
Did you do anything else during the pandemic for sort of staying in touch with everybody else? Like, did you, like, you have a YouTube channel? Did you also start maybe like Instagram or Reels or TikTok or anything like that?
I started TikTok recently, like maybe like the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, because I resisted it for as long as I could, but I was like, there's so much good stuff. So I have a
Yeah.
TikTok account.
Oh.
But yeah, like I've been like everyone else, I've been online more,
Mhm.
like far more during the pandemic than ever before. So I am using like Facebook and Instagram. I think those are the two that I use the most.
Yes, I went with like the TikTok and Facebook, and that's as well. You couldn't find, like, there were two videos I think of me online prior to March of 2020. I'm a producer, like I'm a stand up comedian, but I'm a producer, so I chose to stay behind. But now,
Mhm.
and the reason why I asked about TikTok and other places is because usually I've seen with podcasters that they're doing other things as well. Um,
Yeah.
how did
I
you?
just use it to promote my stuff usually.
Yeah, how are you finding it? Just as a new TikTok account, I'm just going to tell you because I'm winding mine down.
Okay.
Um, I'll tell you what I did in the beginning when I had a new account accidentally that was good, which might help you, right? What you need to do is do some. I would just suggest do some really trendy, like stupid, embarrassing videos, like the ones that are all trending right now. Go find like the most trending music, the best theme, like, and do those ones. And you can private them later, but you still keep the views and the followers from it. So
Okay.
I played the game in the beginning. I was doing the dances, like
Okay.
I was doing the things, but as a comedian, I was usually messing up the end on purpose. And I accidentally got on my fifth TikTok 200,000 views.
Wow.
So exactly, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is easy. And I realized as I was moving into my own stuff that I thought was funny, I was getting less and less views. So I played them up until I got enough following that I could have some momentum. So just as a new TikTok, I don't know
Okay.
if you could do that now because it puts you into a niche immediately. It's like
Right.
your first 10 videos tells TikTok who you are. Yeah.
Because
Anyway.
I think I did one or two where you can use that voiceover thing. I
Yeah.
think I've done like two like that, two like trendy ones.
Yes.
But the rest are either like promoting my online shows or promoting the podcast or
Yes.
something like that. I don't think I'm using it properly.
No, that's the I noticed that, like, YouTube is really hard for me. Like with YouTube, you got to play by YouTube's rules. By Facebook, you
Yeah,
have to play by Facebook rules, and the same goes for TikTok and Instagram. And
yeah, because it's
I
all the
don't.
algorithms and
Yeah,
certain words and stuff like that. So I'm probably not doing any of it
no,
properly.
and I'm not. I mean, I have like I do have a Twitter account because they're like, "Oh, what's your Twitter handle?" I'll be like, you know what? I got so many stupid things on the go already. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing. I have Twitter, but I don't use it as often as the other
yeah,
things. It'll be like, oh yeah, okay, let me post you know, but I have a show tonight on Twitter or something like that. But yeah, I don't
yeah,
use it nearly as often as a lot of people,
yeah. What was
you know.
your what has been your favorite moment so far with your podcast? I know you don't
My
want to single
favorite
anybody out. I want to be like, who is your favorite guest? You'd be like, I love them all
um
equally. They're like children. But
my
what was your
favorite
favorite?
moment? Huh. I would have to say, like, it's not like one person in particular. I would have to say, like, talking to people who like to talk. Whether
Yeah.
they're like, I think the best interviews I've had have been with people who either are on podcasts a lot or have their own podcast
Mhm.
because they
Mhm.
know how to engage in things like that.
Yeah.
And but I think I would say like my favorite part, like overall, is just getting to know the people better,
Mhm.
because I would have only known them at like a surface level, seeing them at a show and things like that. But then when you get to talk to them, you get to see who they are, and I like discovering how they got into comedy, like how they started, what was their motivation, what was the thing that what was the catalyst that said, okay, I got to do it. I have to do it now, sort of
Oh,
thing. So I like uncovering those stories.
oh wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually that what did that for you? What
What
made
did
you
that for
say?
me?
Yeah, because that's a big.
Um,
I
yeah,
might use that question now in a roundabout way. Like,
yeah, because I like to know like the like origin story sort of thing. For myself, I've been like a huge fan of stand up my whole life, and I was about 15 and I saw Eddie Murphy's Raw, not Raw, Delirious, his first one, when he was like 22. I would have been about 15 at the time. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I want to do that. One day I want to do that. And I told one of my friends in high school, and she was like, you should, you should. And then I didn't do it. I didn't do anything for like 40 years. Just sat on it, like, but would go to show. Like, I grew up in Montreal, so I would go to Just for Laughs. And, if I could afford it, I'd buy tickets to like a gala or something. And I just immersed myself in it and wanted to try it. And then when I lived in Toronto for 17 years before I moved to Ottawa, and I kept signing up and canceling a course because I was like, I'm too afraid. I'm too scared. And it's like, what would my parents think? What would my boyfriend at the time think? What would all these people think? And I was like, I can't do it, And
oh, I know. I know. Oh,
yeah,
I know.
but it was something that was always there and it would always creep up, like do it, do it. And I can't, I'm scared. But then by the time I moved to Ottawa, there's just a lot of life changes that happened. And I was like, I want to do things. I want to do all the things I was too afraid to try before, comedy being one of them. And I knew I was heading down a path of one day I'll be like, why didn't I at least try? And so I said, I'm going to do it once and for all.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought it would be like a one and done. I take this course, learn all the
I did
basics,
it.
do a
Check.
show. And exactly, it's out of my system. And I go on with my life. But
How was your first time on stage?
the first time on stage was amazing. Like, during the course, like because he put us up on stage right away and we had to like introduce ourselves. And I was like, angels singing and harps. I could hear harps. It was just, I felt very, very comfortable. And
Oh, wow.
then the show, it was a warm show because it was all friends and family in the audience, but it was a real show. And, contrary to when I was thinking about it in Toronto, like in Toronto, I was like, I don't want anybody here. I don't want anybody to see. I don't want to, but this one, I invited everybody I knew. I had like 20 people in the audience, like my sister and brother-in-law and some close family friends drove down from Montreal. The people I had met in Ottawa came, like people from work and stuff. So I had like 20 people, and it was like the most exhilarating, amazing feeling that I'd had. Like, it felt so good. And I think I was all hopped up and everything, and like I don't remember much after, but I was just like, ah! Like, when I was finished. And when I left the club and I went to my car and I got into my car, I just bawled. I burst into tears and like, oh, for like 20 minutes in the car. And like, I just felt all these things. It's like I wish, like, both my parents have passed, and I'd wish that they had been there. I was glad that my sister had been there, and I was just glad that I finally did it, sort of thing. So it was a huge, huge
That's amazing.
moment for me. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
on
And I
a
haven't looked back.
on a personal level, I think all of your family was there. That's just my, like that's just where I'm at. But oh,
Yeah.
that is so cool. I have some questions that I do ask everybody.
Okay.
Okay, so and they're just like they're fire questions, and sometimes I'm rude about it, but that's part of the fun, right? Like so,
Okay.
like I like they're hard questions, but I'm not going to give you enough time. Say, and then later I'm going to edit it to make you look like an asshole. So,
I expect nothing less.
okay, good. And nobody expects anything less from me. If you get anything from me where you go, what the hell is the matter with her? You know, you just know right then that I'm kidding. Like that gut feeling that you get, like, what the? Okay. Yes, I have problems. No, I'm not looking into them. Have you ever been to the edge? And it's different for everybody. You don't have to define, like, it's your definition. Like, I have no secrets about my anxiety, and I've been all over the place. In fact, I've really found this podcast grounding. So what have you ever been to the edge?
Yes, yes. I've battled mental health issues since childhood.
Oh.
The unfortunate thing is I wasn't properly diagnosed until about 5 years ago.
So many of
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because like I'm 54. When my parents took me to a child psychologist, a psychiatrist, when I was, I think, maybe 7 or 8, and I just remember not wanting to talk, and I don't remember exactly what was said, but I remember not wanting to talk. And then for years after, just up and down, like I knew something was not right. And then if I go to the doctor, it's like, oh, you're just feeling blue, or they could explain it away or something. But it was like, this isn't right. I don't feel right. And so it was the end of 2016 that I had. This was probably, I think, my third and most severe breakdown, where I had like a total complete meltdown at work. I don't remember what triggered it, but that was it. And I was off for over a year.
Wow.
Like I took time off like over a year, and then like gradually came back at like 2 days, 2 half days a week, and worked my way back up to full time.
I don't know where you work, but I love that they worked with you
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna say it. Sorry, I'm finding so many parallels. Anybody that knows me knows, like, we have very, very parallel lives. In fact, my last breakdown was, um, well, actually, I remember it was November 14th of 2016. So that
Actually,
was
you know what? I think mine was 2 weeks after that. Mine was like November 28th or something like that of 2016.
I was still having mine. Mine went for 2 weeks, so we were, like, overlapping, like, at the same time, and it was, it was hospitalization, it was the whole gamut, and because I have that type of potential, that's why I thought it's very, very important to stay connected, and that's what I'm getting from you doing your podcast is the
Hmm.
connection, right? So to
Yes.
stay and the networking. Like, I love you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know you, but I love you, and I'm 44. And it bothers me that I look older than you and you're 54.
Black don't crack. Black
I
don't crack.
don't.
That's what I say.
Yeah. I love women. I love women in comedy, and I love that you're doing this. Do you find that there's any backlash from you, like, to you, that you feel it's coming from a comedian, like either the comedy sector, or, I mean, how do I say this? I'm just going to say it. Being a woman, being Black, and being a comedian, have you found what you're doing to be more accepted by the community, or have you felt backlash of any kind that you thought, you know what, women, like, we just don't need this shit?
um, there've been a couple of incidents where like comics have like say I've gotten is the fact that I'm fairly new, still considered kind of new. It'll be 2 years in September that I've been doing comedy, and like I work really hard. Like I try and get as many spots as I can. I practice. I write all the time. Any opportunity that I can get, I take. And then there are people who feel that there's a certain way you're supposed to do it, and they don't like it when somebody new comes in. And if somebody is, say, doing the work that they can do, but you're doing it, that makes them mad. So I've dealt with that. I've dealt with, say, getting booked on particular shows, and people, it's usually men, saying, "Oh, you only got that because they need a woman on the lineup, or they need a visible minority on the lineup."
And you can say it's almost always white men.
Yes, yes,
Almost always.
yeah.
I'm not even quiet about it anymore. Now when I
No,
see
but no, it's
these
true.
comments on Facebook, I always write the same thing. Always a white guy. Always a
Yeah,
white guy.
yeah.
so,
So I've been
so
told
and
that, yeah, you only got that because they need a woman, or they need a minority or something.
do you want to know
And
who doesn't say that? Who are white men? Funny comics.
Yeah,
I almost want to
exactly.
listen the
It's
funny one,
true. It's
the
true.
really good ones. They don't say shit. Like
Yeah.
they're
The really
cute.
good ones aren't going to be threatened. That's the
No,
thing.
and they say the things that you want to be listening to because they're just like like they're funny. They're bombing on Zoom because Zoom is hard. Like
It's hard to do it on
it's
Zoom.
hard to
Yeah.
do it, and they're concentrating on content material, things that work with being online, and they're doing their work.
Hmm.
I had you didn't hear about it live, and you don't hear about it online with these guys specifically saying, yeah, I need
Yeah.
opportunity. Guess what? If you're
Yeah.
funny, you get opportunity.
Yeah, when you're good and you're funny and you're not a dick, you'll get the
That's right.
opportunities. You'll get the opportunities, and there are a
Good
lot of
good
people that
point.
where usually someone will put a call out for a show or something and you comment spot or you message them or something. But there's a group that thinks that, oh, they should just ask me. I shouldn't have to ask them. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. Unless
Mm,
you're Dave Chappelle, no one's just gonna ask you,
that's right. I am
you
good.
know?
I'm good friends with Bobby Knuff. He just because he came from Thunder Bay, and I don't mind like name dropping him just because we're such good friends. And he comes to Thunder Bay from time to time, and he will do shows. And if I've got the money, he'll take it. And if I don't, he's like, he's just because we're friends. I do not expect comedians ever to work for
Mhm.
free. It's just because we're
Right.
friends. And he came here once, and there was a comedian that didn't want to work because it was $100. He's like, you're in Thunder Bay, Ontario. You think you can, anything paying. Like I had to move to Toronto. I live in an apartment with people with cats, with roommates, just so that I would have these opportunities. So yeah, no, I agree
Yeah,
there
that's
as
crazy.
well. Uh,
Oh yeah, or they're beneath, like certain shows are beneath them and stuff, and it's like I don't have that. I don't have that mentality. So it has gotten me some hate.
yeah,
Like my first hate incident. I don't know who did it, but I know I know it's a comic. I just from the wording, and I got a nasty email, a nasty comment on my website about like how embarrassing I was, and go have your midlife crisis somewhere else, like you're not
yeah,
funny and all of this. And it really rattled me. It really upset me because I was like, who hates me this much? But then after a while it was like, yeah, somebody who's threatened. Like I'm probably doing what
exactly.
I'm supposed to be doing and someone's feeling threatened, you
I
know?
had I had
Yeah.
Matt Santos on about a month ago, and he said he goes, your videos are being reported because my I've almost lost my TikTok account and I had like a couple of videos removed from YouTube. And I said, like, just straight up, I'm like, yeah, I know, but do you want to know what I hear from that? Somebody is paying attention to all of my
Everything you're doing.
content.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's another
Yes.
view. And the people that don't
Exactly.
like me are just as important as the people that do like me.
Yeah.
And the first time I got, the why don't you kill yourself message, I
Oh,
was, oh, yeah. I was like, oh. And you know what? It bothered me for about 4 seconds. I'm actually surprised I have a thick skin when it comes to online things, right? I use it kind of as an empowering
probably
thing.
because you just know that it's like some sad person
Hmm.
hiding
Yeah.
behind a keyboard because
Yeah.
nobody would say that to your face.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Unless they're a
Nobody.
psychopath, no one's going to be like,
No.
you kill yourself. Like, no one's going to
Yeah.
do that to your face.
Oh no, exactly,
Yeah.
and on TikTok specifically, it's usually like they're usually kids and stuff, and I kind of like
Mhm.
getting into it with them. But I found that the people that don't like me are just as like yeah, like somebody is watching you all the time. Maybe you have like four
Watching
haters.
everything.
Guess what? That's four more views. That's four more platforms where you have more attention. Even
Yeah,
the
they're still giving you the
downvote.
views and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
the views matter so much less to me now that I'm enjoying the time. How do you find that? Do you grade yourself as well on I can tell you right now, the podcasts that I don't think are going to do well, and the ones that I think are going to be great. Oh, this could be so popular. I'll have like three people in the room.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you find that you grade yourself at all by
Not really, just because I know it's like luck and people are fickle and at short attention spans. It doesn't bother me. I think three podcasts episodes I think have surpassed like the 800 views mark, and I'm like, I only have like 50 subscribers. Like, I don't know where all these views are coming from. But I don't really pay attention to that. I just enjoy what I'm doing. I'm like, if people watch it, great. If they don't, that's fine too. I
Yep.
just enjoy doing it.
I
You
found I was
know?
getting so upset about doing the lives, which you pull off seamlessly. But I like doing the pre-recordings like this. I feel exactly the same way. So,
Yeah.
sorry, and just going back because I also have ADD and I kind of tend to go all over the place. So you went back to work, and over a year they worked with you until you were back completely.
Yes.
Did you find that that was a factor at all of your mental state when we first went into lockdown? Like, how did that
Oh
affect you?
yeah. I was really scared with that, and my mental health has suffered
Mm.
over the year. I've gained a lot of weight. I feel like, yeah, I just feel like I feel feral now. Like I don't know how to be around people, sort of thing,
Yeah.
And I'm not as active as I used to be. So it's like I'm out of shape and I've gained a lot of weight and I feel embarrassed. That I'm doing a show tonight in person, like my first in person since March, and I'm like, oh, but I look so gross. I feel so gross. I look so gross, sort of thing. And I have to be like, nobody cares. Like,
Ex-
nobody cares, really.
excuse me, excuse me, parallel sister in the same universe. My first stage show is tomorrow, and I was like, man, like, do I say I just had a child? How? Like, how can I
I
get
know.
past this? And
Yes.
I'm trying all these outfits yesterday, thinking, I'm a house. Like, I don't feel good about my
Yeah.
weight. And because you could say, like, oh, like I may look the same up here, but I don't. Like, my weight, like it just all goes
Yeah.
on the same spot. It's just like, oh, a
Exactly. And the
cookie,
thing
let's
is
go to
too,
the
like
hip.
people, yeah, the thing is to people who know us, we probably look the same.
Yes.
But it's like for me, I feel like Jabba the Hutt. Like I'm like, bleh. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Like nothing looks right, or it doesn't fit the way it fit last year, and it's like,
I
ah,
hate that.
you know.
I went
And
through
I
the
hate
first,
that I'm stressing
yeah.
so much about that.
Yeah.
That I'm not
We even
thinking about,
know.
oh, I hope I do a good set tonight. I'm like, like what am I going to look like? And I hate that. I hate that. That's how I'm feeling.
I
But
used to say I was born in the wrong generation, but I'm going to say no. I love now that we had the Me Too movement.
yes,
I love it, and I love it. It's like nobody's going to say anything because that's fat shaming, and you can't do that
exactly,
anymore. Yeah, like my very
exactly.
first
Yeah, just
heckle was, yeah, shut it,
just shut the fuck
get him
up.
out of here. Yeah, you're like, do you have any idea who I am? I've got 50, I've got 50 YouTube subscribers. Take
Yeah,
that.
exactly. It's true. So yeah, I was really concerned at the beginning of the pandemic because the thing I love to do more than anything else in the world that I'd spend like 5 out of 7 days doing or watching or consuming was gone.
Mhm.
And so very quickly I was like, I have to like replicate that somehow. I have to bring that back into my life somehow. So I started the podcast, and that's when I joined like a whole bunch of comedy groups, like outside of
Mhm.
Ottawa, and like different ones in Canada, a lot in the States. And I just started doing Zoom shows.
Yeah.
Like I've done so many Zoom shows, and I love doing the Zoom shows.
And
I
that's where I first
prefer
saw you
person.
was
Yeah, it
on.
was on
Actually,
a Zoom.
I think you were the first person I ever saw do Zoom comedy, and that's where I was
Okay.
recognizing you from. I was like, oh, there
Yeah,
she is. There she
yeah,
is.
because I was doing like a whole ton,
Do you live alone?
just I live alone, yeah, with
Okay,
my cat.
my dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a long time of being down and out. So you did Zoom,
Hmm.
and I took to TikTok. Do you feel
Yeah.
that doing the Zoom shows upped your game, or do you
Oh,
feel like you're going to have to?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, I've been pushing Zoom shows on like comics since last year. I was like, you've got to do it. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. And they're, I don't want to. I'm going to wait till it comes back. Da 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 da. And those same people, the last like couple of months, hey, can I get on your Zoom show? Yes,
Hmm.
yes, you can.
Yes. Yeah.
Welcome. You're more than welcome here. Because I know when things opened up, like in mid July, like that little period of mid July to like September, I
Hmm.
hit the ground running. I hit the
Good.
ground running, and I did a lot of live shows, and yeah, like I got to travel around a little bit. Like I go to Kingston or Cornwall, Montreal. I did I did so much, and I was doing Zoom shows at the same time, and that it's kept me sharp.
Mhm.
And I think I've definitely become a better comic over the last year
This has
with
come
it.
up several times with other comedians. I found maybe you found this theme as well. What is your feeling about the statement? The pandemic has separated the real comedians from the hobbyists.
Mm, yeah, I don't really think that's a fair statement because I know people who've stepped away from it and probably won't be coming back because they didn't have that same love affair with it as some of us do, which is fine. There are other people who love it, but because they had somebody in their life who was vulnerable, they didn't want to take a chance of, going to a club when it was open, because they have like a grandparent or a parent or somebody sick and didn't want to risk that. So there are multiple reasons for why people didn't like engage during the pandemic, but I do think that the ones who have embraced online comedy or like pivoted to do something else.
So, like virtual anything. Yeah.
Yeah, virtual anything, like to still do their craft and but they're doing it virtually, or they're taking like workshops or just things like that. I think those are the ones who are going to rise above the rest. I think the people who've been doing something consistently for a year, for the last year and a half, I think you'll be able to tell,
Mhm.
like when things open up and you're seeing people on stage again, you're going to be able to tell that person has been doing it has never stopped, because they've been doing it online, online when things are shut down, in person when things are open, or a hybrid of both sort of thing. And that person, this is their first time performing in a year or in 8 months
You
or
think it'll be
something.
obvious?
I think it'll be obvious. I
Okay.
think it'll be obvious. Yeah.
What's the live, the one, the first one that you have? What's that one set up
This one
as?
is Yuck Yucks. This is
Awesome.
at Yuck Yucks.
Outside, inside
Yeah,
it?
it's a rooftop.
Oh, sorry.
Rooftop.
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah.
would have to be.
Yeah, it's a rooftop. Yeah, because we can't do indoor yet.
Right.
So
How many people
it's
can
at
you
a
have at that?
I think it's 36. I think
Okay.
it's
That's the
9
capacity.
tables of 4. Yeah, on
Okay.
the roof. And like this is my first time performing. I've been there I think twice already to see other shows, and it's a nice setup. Like it's covered, so
You need to tell me
um
how it goes after too, because like I said, I'm doing my
I
first
will.
one tomorrow, and I don't know, like, and so it's Yuck Yuck. So are they selling tickets, or like, is it sold out? You already know it's going to be
I
capacity.
don't know if this one is sold out. I know a lot of the shows that they've put on have been sold out, so this one, if it's not sold out, it's probably close to being sold out. And they're selling tickets. They don't sell the tickets individually. It's in tables of 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like what I've done is I've bought a table. Like when I went to a show last week, I bought a table and then had 3 friends come or 2 friends come
Yeah. Cool. I,
like
I I
that.
could make two friends, and then I could do that myself.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just a joke. It's a self-deprecating humor. Uh, but so I'm just going to fire through these a little bit,
Okay.
and you can answer what you want. If you're not comfortable, that's fine too. Do you believe the world would be a better place without guns?
Yes.
Uh, and what's better, a peer-reviewed study or a hypothetical study? If the hypothetical study was science-based, and it's not meant to be wordy, but I'm sort of asking a vaccine question.
What was a peer reviewed?
Yeah, what would be better, peer-reviewed studies or hypothetical studies? If the hypothetical was science-based. I've only asked a
Um,
couple of people this just because I need to figure a better way to say it.
who are the peers? Are the peers scientists?
Yes, peer-reviewed study.
Or hypothetical? Hmm. I think I
Yeah,
would have to go with the peer review because a hypothetical is just a guess.
Yes.
And it could be, even though it could be based on like historical empirical information, it's still a guess.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
I agree with you. Yes. Are you pro-vaccine?
I am pro-vaccine.
Okay.
Yes,
And
I'm
are
fully
you
vaxxed.
you're really okay, good.
Fully vaxxed.
Yeah. Have you ever accidentally interviewed an anti-vaxxer, like you just didn't know until you started talking?
I haven't interviewed. I haven't had that conversation on my podcast, but in just regular conversation, I have. Where it was like, "Oh, have you gotten a vaccine shot, or have you got an appointment?" Asking like, "Did you get your
Mhm.
appointment or something?" And
Yeah.
they were like, "No," and I don't think I'm getting it. And I'm like, "Okay," and I left it. I thought I'm not going to argue because they have their own reasons. They have
Yeah.
their reasons. I'm not going to fight
I'm
with them.
gonna I will probably cut this part out. I'll tell you, like, I'll put the whole interview up live on YouTube, but I will cut this out. I do need to tell you, also because other people have asked me about this. I did an interview that started off with just some questions with the anti-vax, and you'll appreciate this. Found out that not only was she anti-vax, but she was also um, pro. Sorry, how am I losing words right now? Is this early dementia? Conspiracy theory, or she's pro conspiracy theory, like pro like and went into the whole government this and that. And I mean, I was
Microchip and all of that.
as an interview, I thought to myself, I'm not an asshole. Like, I'm not going to rip her apart or anything. Like, I'm going to
Yes.
listen, ask
Yeah.
some questions, try to gear in everywhere. I tried to gear the conversation, and I understand. And and there's no disrespect for her. It's Sandra Battaglini. I had no idea. So she's like as high, like pretty, like as high up. She came up with the Canadian and like the stand up community, the CASC,
Yeah, yeah, she's the
right?
like the CEO or whatever of
Yeah,
that.
like
Yeah.
very, 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 very high up. So I was very, very surprised. So, it was just like it was a respectful interview. I didn't agree with it, nothing.
Mhm.
But I did let her talk, and I did try to gear it. And I put it on YouTube, and I got a 1 week ban. I got
Oh
a
man.
1 week ban. I got a strike against me. Okay. The week before, I had a video taken off of YouTube because I um, did that. I said, "Oh, if you think that you're magnetic when you get your shot, I'm going to prove that you're not." So I took a like a nickel or a dime, and I put it on but it was a TikTok, so I exploded. Right. So they took that down. They took that down, saying, "Yeah, that's not." So when Sandra's interview got removed, it was because I'm actively spreading misinformation and I
Just by
thought,
letting her speak, you're
just by
like,
letting her speak. So
wow.
that was actually really upsetting because one, nobody should be watching me for any type of scientific, technical, or like any information. Like, don't take anything I say. Like, I'm telling you, I'm telling everybody. Like, right now, do not watch for like newsworthiness.
Exactly.
like,
I'm the same way.
like, just don't. Yeah.
I'm like,
So
get your information from a credible source, like trust science.
yes,
Like, not me.
but
It's like, I'm not a doctor.
I don't know how comfortable I am with like even just having a discussion about it, even in open satire. I mean, I made some really good jokes to her. Like, I was going off about bat soup. It was amazing. So and I thought you might appreciate, what would you do if you found you were in that position? I mean, now that I've told you, to cut it out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been in that situation. I've been in the situation where and this one I'm like, thank God this was a pre-recorded one. And I didn't end up using it. And I told the guy, I was like, I can't use it because he kept talking over me. Like, he wouldn't let me talk. He kept talking over me. And he wanted to show like a video of this thing that we were discussing. And I was like, we can watch the video, but I was like, I don't think I can show it like there's probably some copyright or whatever with it. But he would start playing it and then stop and be like, oh, one more thing, one more thing. And I was like, Jesus. And he kept
Sorry, this was
interrupting.
on yours. This was on
This was
your
on
interview.
mine. Yeah, this was on my show.
Okay.
And this guy was like, oh, have you talked about this on your show. And I was like, no, let's
Oh,
talk about it.
he was helping you.
He was helping me.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, okay. And thank God I did it pre-recorded, because it was like a complete shit show. And I was trying to like bring him back on topic. He'd go off on these tangents. He's talking over me. And then finally it ended. And then the next day I was trying to edit it. And I was like, I can't. Because everything, I think I spent like 2 hours editing, and I'd only gotten like 3 minutes of usable audio. And so I messaged him. I was like, I cannot use this. You know, I'm sorry, but I can't use it. Oh, can we do it again? No. No, we cannot. I'm not going through that again.
It was so bad. It was so bad. I made cancel my podcast altogether. That's how
exactly.
bad.
I'm not doing this anymore. Like, it was so bad. It was so bad. And I was like, even if I went through all the footage and pieced together usable stuff, it would make no sense because it's all chopped up and everything. So I was like, I can't use it. Sorry.
Oh, you know, that sort of answers my question. Other than that one, have you ever been like just sort of listening to a guest and then been thinking the entire time, this is all getting cut?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I've done that too.
None of this.
You try to gear it, and then at some point you're just like, no, keep going. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's happened where it's like, yeah, I got to remember to cut this out. Yeah, this is not going in there. This
get it all out. That's
it's out. I don't even care if there's like a noticeable cut in the video. It's not going in there.
You actually accentuate it like the curtains come into your. I don't care. Yeah, I reposted the Sandra Battaglini interview on YouTube. I reposted it, but I was so satirical about the cutting that I actually had a like, what's that thing that cut that, you know, that was, I used like an animated thing that came along. I was like, right when she started to go up, it went like down to like 23 usable minutes. So yeah.
But most of the time it's like it's fun. There have been some where like people are, maybe they're nervous or they're not very talkative, where it's like pulling teeth because they're giving like one word answers, or
those are so
and it's
hard.
like, oh, I know those are difficult. Those are usually like the challenging ones, sort of thing, or they talk really low or something. And it's like, or I feel like I'm overbearing on them because I'm talking and asking all these questions, and they're like, no, yes, no.
I know. That was when I started coming up with kind of questions too. That's the best thing about comedians too, because they usually don't shut up like me. But I started coming up with questions, and because that's where you can't just answer yes or no. Like, yeah. Oh, actually, that's where this question was born. What's an okay lie to tell a child?
An okay lie to tell a child? Oh.
Do you have children?
I don't have children.
Okay, neither do I. These are always the best answers.
The best lie to tell a child,
right.
I guess.
Or what is an okay lie to tell a kid, right? Like parents are usually like Santa Claus, you know, or
yeah, maybe something about Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Or
okay.
Like if they're little kids, like don't crush their worlds yet.
Yeah. Give them a little
get to like 10 or something before you crush their dreams.
That's right. You can grow up a little bit before I stunt you forever. What is an accomplishment that you went after and missed? Swing and a miss.
So an accomplishment I went after and I missed? I think it was a job about maybe 20 years ago that I was certain I was going to get it, and I didn't, and I was like crushed because I had so this would have been like 2004 or something, 2003. I hadn't been in Toronto that long, and when I moved to Toronto, I was on a contract, and this job I'd applied for was permanent, and the the director of that department had come to my desk to make sure that I had applied and all of this stuff. And I did the interview and everything, thought I had done really, really well, and then found out I wasn't selected. I think they
Did you
were
find out
hiring.
why? Like, was it
Yeah, I found
nepotism?
out why. And it was because I didn't have a degree. I'd
Oh,
never finished my degree. And that was the only reason. Because they said it was between you. Like I think they hired like 10 people, and say one of the choices was between me and another person. The only difference was they had a degree and I didn't.
oh.
And I didn't get it. And I remember I was crushed because my contract was ending and I was like, I don't have a job.
What did you
I'm
do?
not going to have a. I panicked. I freaked out.
Oh, I meant
uh,
like, what did you do after that? You're like,
well, what had happened was I
I
ended up
didn't.
getting a different job because I had applied for another job like a few months before, and I had gotten like a letter saying that there's a hiring freeze. So they're not hiring, and I was like, okay, that's no problem. But then, so then like a month later, I got the news that I didn't get this job, and so when I went back to work at my old job, I only had a few weeks left. Then the hiring freeze was lifted from the other job. That was also a permanent job. And so I got that. So it worked out. But there was a period of time, it was right before Christmas. There was a period of time that I didn't know what I was going to do. I was freaking out.
Break
And
both my legs before you tell me
yeah,
I'm going to that I'm going to be like, I'm running out of money soon. Like that
yeah,
feeling
yeah.
is
Because it was like, what am I going to do?
horrible. Yeah.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
what came out of that is that that spurred me to go back to school. So about, yeah, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years later, I went back to school and I got my degree. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I mean, everything, of course, like it just keeps going. I mean, the answer isn't I jumped off a building. So,
yeah. Yeah.
right. Like,
For a
so,
moment, I was just like crushed. I remember leaving my office and going into a conference room and calling my parents and like sobbing, like, what am I going to do?
yeah.
And everything. And my parents were like, come home. Just come.
Yeah.
I know you're coming home at Christmas next week. Come home now. I don't want to come home. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
stay here. Yeah. But yeah, that was like a
Oh,
crushing. That was crushing. Yeah.
wow.
I just thinking about it, I'm like, it was so long ago, and like so many great things have happened
You're
since
like
then. But
you're
that
like, "Thank
was.
you for bringing that up." I feel like,
Thank you for reopening the wound.
"Thank you."
But
The next
yeah.
the next one is what is your, like, most favoritist accomplishment that made like, and this doesn't have to be, like, comedy related or anything, but what do you look back on and think that just gets you going, that's just
Uh
kickstarts your heart?
I have a couple. When I
Okay.
quit smoking, like the day I quit smoking for good,
When?
that
When did
was
you do
huge.
that?
That was November 3rd of 2009.
Wow, see, I still
Yeah.
smoking, I keep quitting and then I
Yeah, and so because that was something I thought I would never ever be able to do, and yeah, so that was a pretty big accomplishment. Like when I hit the
wow.
1 year mark,
Yeah, you're at 11 years
yeah,
now,
I'm at like 11 years now, but when I hit the
but
1 year mark, it was, yeah. And then
I'm
when I finished school,
I'm almost 11 years sober, so you quit smoking the same year that I quit drinking. So, you know what? I'm gonna hold on to that and just be like, "You know what? That one was better." Like the quit drinking, I will work on the smoking. Sorry, go ahead.
I will work on the drinking.
Yeah, I'll work on the drinking. You're like, "I
Yeah, so
picked
it
that
was
up."
that day. That day was something I've been pretty proud of. And when I finished school, when I graduated, because I finished in 2010, and I was working full time when I went to school and everything, and so that was a pretty huge accomplishment. And then, right, the first time I performed comedy when I did it, like that very first show that I did,
Good.
are
I
like three highlights.
Awesome. How do you, um because it sounds like you've had more victories than not, and, how do you manage anxiety now when you
Not
feel
very
that?
well sometimes.
No? Okay.
Not very well
Yeah.
sometimes. Like I'm an emotional eater.
Okay.
I do have an eating disorder, and I just started seeing a therapist about it. I've done therapy all my life, but for whatever reason, like eating disorders and disordered eating never came up. I don't know why. I think I was like,
I
oh, it's yeah, because whenever I hear eating disorder, I think of somebody like super skinny and skeletal. But then this is an eating disorder. This is, um,
I always found that
so
there were bigger fish to fry than dealing with the eating disorder.
yeah,
And by the time I was paying attention to the eating disorder, I had enough of the things in line
yeah,
before. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like I'm only like confronting it directly now. Like I've had 2 sessions with a therapist who specializes in eating disorders and stuff, and it got like the binge eating was really bad during like this last year, because that's how I gained a lot of weight, because that was how I comforted myself. Like I didn't know any proper coping mechanism, so it was just like ice cream and just eat like tons of food. I didn't purge, thank God, but I would just eat these volumes of food to the point where I felt I was going to be sick, and be like, oh, I'm never doing that again. And then, yeah, a day or two later, same thing, like eating like ridiculous amounts of food, and knowing like I'm going to feel like shit in about 10 minutes, but I'm still going to eat it, sort of
There
thing.
is,
And
to me, there's nothing worse than the feeling that I feel fat and
mhm,
I'm hungry.
yeah,
Like, what do you do? It's not like heroin where you can just be like, you know what, you're going to need to stay away from that. You need
yeah, exactly. That's
food
the
to
thing.
live.
You need
And
food to live. Yeah.
I will qualify. I've never spoken about this on my podcast about anxiety. I feel like I've had like my list of issues, but I did the exact same thing. I'm bulimic, and when I get when I look my best when I'm thin, that's when I'm sickest. And
Exactly. People say
there's
that,
no
people are like,
control.
you look great. And yeah.
That's the thing. So
Yeah.
I'm worried about going on stage and looking bigger. But I ran into a friend yesterday that I hadn't seen in a long time, and he knows my history, and he said, "You look good," like meaning like I'd put on some weight. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I did the exact, and the money that went into it at the
Oh,
beginning of
yes.
the pandemic was absolutely horrible. I was embarrassed about getting rid of
Yeah.
my garbage. I was looking at my credit card statement.
Yes.
I felt so much shame with it. But I was getting thin, and I was getting compliments, and that's how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
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 So I totally understand the emotional eating.
Yeah.
Um, or the restricting and then eating. That was always really hard too, because I
Yeah.
would just be like,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm just not going to, because if I don't binge, then I'm not spending the money. I'm not doing
Mhm.
that. Like I'll just not eat, and then
Yeah.
that would trigger
Yeah,
like another
exactly.
binge. Yeah. Oh
Exactly.
well. Thanks for
Exactly.
sharing that. That's
Mhm.
that's that's really huge. And I'll tell you right now, like the whole bulimia thing is not. Um, because you said thank God, because you weren't getting rid of it, right? Like the consequences I feel of that long term are far worse. In fact, I was told like before you quit drinking, you probably should have taken care of that, because that'll kill you before the alcohol ever will, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
glad that you're in therapy and stuff. Me too. I got like a
Because when I was
psychiatric
younger, I
therapist.
used to do crazy things like laxatives and all of that. And, like the short term thing, like that messes up your system and everything. So I was like, I can't do that anymore, because it was physically painful, and I just didn't do it. But the binging part
Yeah.
stayed.
And I've met other people who were very, very thin or did the whole laxative whatever thing. And I think I always thought like I couldn't do that. Like that would be really, really hard. I worked in an office once. I mean, well, there's no way that she would ever see this, but we used to, oh man, we are assholes. I was like 22. We used to call her Chocolat, because we knew not to use the
Wow.
bathroom after lunch, because she would just go in there and like ruin it for the day, right?
Oh,
And I and
wow.
I and I thought at that time, I was like, oh, that's horrible. Like how could you live like that? And then I'm like, You
Yeah.
know, like
It's true.
the judging of other people. But when as you were saying, like, oh, thank God I didn't get into the throwing up. I was like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Like yeah, like I didn't do that anymore. I did that like in my teens and my 20s and
oh, you
stuff. And
did do
then
that.
I did do it.
Yeah,
But like now, like say the last year especially, I haven't done the purging
yeah,
part.
yeah. We just as long as we have shame to pay attention to, I think that's 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 what the therapy is for. It's like, who am
Yeah.
I if I'm not embarrassed about something right now?
Yeah, exactly. And like I had my second session on Tuesday, and like after the first one, I was like, wow, there's
Yeah.
a lot to unpack. I have a lot to unpack. And then when I
Yes.
spoke to her the other day, she's like, where do you want to start? I'm like, there are too many jumping off points. We
Yeah.
could start literally anywhere. And at some point, we're going to have to jump back to childhood because that's where it
Yes.
started. But like 500,000 jumping off points, you know?
Are you doing in person? Are you doing in
Oh, no, we're
person?
doing it virtually, like video.
How do you find that? I had a hard time at first, but I kind of like it. I don't have to leave my house.
Yeah, no, I like it. Like I see two. I have another therapist that I check in with monthly. Like when I think I've been seeing her about 2 years, and when I first started seeing her, we were in person until the pandemic. Because the
Oh, so
first
you
little
already
bit,
knew her then.
yeah, but I have a different therapist for the eating disorder.
Okay.
Yeah. Is when the first therapist, it was mainly for like grief. Because I'd lost my mom before, like a few months before. I'd lost my best friend, I think, like
Right
a
before
few
the
weeks before.
pandemic?
I lost my mom Thanksgiving of 2018,
Oh, I'm so
October
sorry.
8th of 18. And then I moved, then like a relationship ended. I got this new job and I moved to Ottawa, all within like 4 months of losing my mom. I'd lost my dad already a few years before, like 4 years before that. Then when I got to Ottawa, it was like a new job, a new department, new people, new everything. And then one of my best friends was sick, and then she died in July of 19. And I was like, I need help. Like there's too many things have changed in my life, and I'm freaking out. So I sought out a counselor just to let it out. So
Good.
yeah,
Yeah, being with anxiety, it's like we can't handle circumstances when they're normal and good. Like sometimes
yeah,
something's just a trigger, right?
yeah.
I can get triggered when everything's fine. So when
Hmm.
dealing with all of that stuff, which is super overwhelming,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
then
any one of those things on their own
yeah,
is a lot. But to be dealing with it like at the same time, I was like, I can't. I need help, sort of thing.
then so 1 year later, it's just like boom, everybody go to your rooms for a
Yeah,
year. Like now you can go sit and you could just think about
you
it.
just think, yeah, and that's the worst. That's the worst. Me alone with my thoughts
Yeah, people are like,
for
"Get out of
too
your
long.
head." I'm like, "I can't even
Yeah,
get out of my
I can't
house." Like,
exactly. It's
where
true, and so that was like living alone. Not I didn't have a bubble or anything, so I was like alone
neither did I.
most of the time, and
I
it's hard.
told
It was hard.
in the beginning when, friends would say like, "Do you have a bubble?" Like, "Do if you wanna." I'd be like, "Oh, no, I have a bubble." Right? I didn't let people think that I was alone, but I was very, very alone.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. Me too.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
Okay, so this part kind of restored my faith in humanity almost. I was checked up on more, and I still am checked up on more in the last 14 months than I was ever, like in my whole life combined before that. Not that people didn't check up, but and at first it was annoying. But do you find that do you like getting those messenger messages? Hey, just checking in to see how you're doing, or hi, if you want to.
I like getting them now. I know, like around the George Floyd thing and everything, it was a lot of performative stuff, and that I found that annoying because I was like, it's not really sincere. I didn't feel it was sincere.
Mhm.
Um, but when the hoopla of that wore off and like the performative stuff stopped.
Oh, when you felt
Um,
like you weren't like a hot topic.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because I'd have people messaging me, well, what can I do? And I'm like, why don't you Google that? You know, like
Yeah.
we all have stuff to relearn and unlearn and stuff like that. And I'm not the spokesperson for everyone.
No.
And I'm probably not the right person to talk to because my experience
It's
is very
vastly different than in the
is
States.
vastly
You're not
different. Yeah,
yeah, you're not an American Black
exactly.
woman. You have a
Yeah,
different
Canadian Black. We have our own issues up
yeah,
here, you know?
problems.
But like my upbringing, like my childhood and everything is very different to a lot of other people. So it's like ask like there are things that I can't talk to because I didn't experience it. So
Yes.
yeah.
Um, I yeah. I was gonna say, I talked to, Tamara Siobhan.
Oh, I
Uh,
love her. I love
I
her.
love her, and it was, and sort of briefly touched on it because I didn't wanna be like, "Oh, yeah," like, as the spokesperson for all. But I
Yeah.
also talked to Ron Knudski about this, so I'm gonna ask you because you'll be a tiebreaker. You know, at the I was at on the pa so I put my pronouns on all my, uh, like, social media, uh, like, on my platforms in my description, and I'm a trans, supporter, gay, lesbian, bi. I support, the Indigenous, population, absolutely enraged about the children.
Mhm.
I'm probably, a feminist. I'm pretty far left. I'm probably closer to wingnut than I am to the center, and I'll admit that. Uh, and I had BLM on everything as well. And I was contacted by a couple of people that said, "You know what? No, take that take that off because
Really?
you shouldn't have BLM." And the way it was explained is that with and like I said, and you may not know either. Like you might be like because you look like me. You're like why? And the way it was explained to me, and it was by an American, said the Aboriginal community doesn't feel seen. So they want you to speak up, right? Like we're wearing orange here and we are saying, these are our Indigenous communities. We need to get them water. Everybody speak up, like just holler at the top of your lungs. And the more allies, the better. Black Lives Matter is about a unity with the Black community who are seen and disliked for their skin color. So what they're doing is as a band together, it's like a standing as one. Everybody's aware that there's Black racism in America. We don't need, a bunch of, people with, like the Black fist or using the BLM as virtue signaling, which is how it's seen by their community, I was told with that. So I went and I checked out a couple other TikTokers and stuff. I saw, you know what, they don't have that either. And so I took it down.
Hmm.
And and Tamara was just very like, no, that doesn't make sense to me. But I think it's
Yeah.
because I spoke with her as a Canadian. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure because I've been challenged on it a couple times now, but I've never been challenged by an American.
Oh, because yeah, I find that strange because I thought like I'm not offended at all if I see somebody that has like BLM in their profile or something like that because I'm like good. That's
Hmm.
good.
Yeah.
It's allyship and everything. I don't see it as virtue signaling. Like if you're also like walking the walk, like it's like because anybody could put a picture up or
Hmm.
something and say I've done something, and it's like no, it's more than that. Um, but to be told to take it down, that doesn't make sense to
I
me.
wasn't told take it down. I was told that I was being disrespectful. So it's like one of those things where your parents are like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. So and then I went I on and then on TikTok as well, I saw a couple of creators explaining why that's not okay. And I never saw a TikTok explaining why it would be okay. So I just want to do what I'm told. Right. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I figure nobody's going to judge me any less for not having it. So I'm just going to take it down and observe and see how everything kind of and I don't see it
Yeah.
on a lot, but of course I don't see pronouns uh
Hmm.
on a lot too. And I didn't even I didn't ask you. I try to ask everybody as well, guess like what their pronouns and stuff are. But yeah, you look like
Yeah.
I do and you look like Tamara did. Like it's just like I don't really know what's
Yeah, I
happening.
don't. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, because like in my Instagram profile, I have she, her.
I'm
I
pretty
have
sure you
my
can have
pronouns there.
BLM.
I have BLM
I
there.
was like, I'm pretty sure.
I also have, Stop Asian Hate and Stop
Yes.
Islamophobia.
Yeah. And there,
And Indigenous, I have a hashtag for Indigenous lives too. Like,
there's so many things we need to cover.
yeah.
Like there's so many damn things. There's literally a Holocaust survivor who was in a camp, who was bare bones and tattooed, who's representing uh, an American community actually against what's going on in North Korea. And he as a Holocaust survivor is saying, what happened to me in Germany in a concentration camp? It's worse there. It's
Mm,
worse. And how do we feel? Right? Because what would you think? That would never happen near me. That would never happen. That's an injustice on humanity.
yeah.
That's a right. But it is. It's happening right
It's
now.
happening. Yeah.
Right now, we have communities in our in our country, like lots of them, that do not have clean water, which should
Yeah.
be a right. Right now, we have all of these injustices happening, and
Yeah. And I remember there was something a few years ago where it was um some illness was going through Canada, and instead of sending medicine to like northern communities, they sent body bags.
I know, yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I can't remember what it was. This was maybe like, I don't know, 12 years ago or something. That was the solution, to send body bags to these communities instead of the required medicine.
4 months ago, do you remember when the AstraZeneca became, it was abolished in Denmark? Countries were starting to turn it down. Canada, but I don't know if we'd had any issues with it yet. But did you know where we all have Moderna and Pfizer right now? Do you know where the AstraZeneca went?
I'm sure they sent it to some
To
community.
the remote Aboriginal communities. Like, here's the
If it's not
wow.
acceptable for human consumption, it should be going in a like an incinerator or something. You don't send it to
And
people.
not just that, but there are actual restrictions saying, if you've had AstraZeneca, like basically like you're not being acknowledged as having vaccines. And we don't know how this is going to play out long term. Are they going to
Yeah,
need
because a
are
lot
they
of
going to need other
people have
ones?
had AstraZeneca.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and lots of us have too, but they're not here anymore. AstraZeneca, to my understanding,
Yeah.
isn't here at all. But again, don't listen to me for your newsworthiness. But I do know that that's where all of the supply of the
Wow.
AstraZeneca went. So
Wow. Because I have a
anyway,
friend in Montreal who got AstraZeneca. When she went for her second shot, she wanted to get AstraZeneca again. And she wanted like it to match or something like that. And the nurse was like, "We don't have any more." And she was like, "Oh, okay." But then another nurse was like, "Yeah, we still have some. If she wants it, give it to her."
she
So
goes into
she
her
got,
purse. She goes into her
yeah,
purse.
she's
Here it
like, "Here,
is.
I've got one."
It's right.
But she had to ask for it, and I was at first told, "We don't have any more." But then someone else was like, "Yeah, we do."
I don't know if
You
I'd
know, if
want
she,
I don't know if I'd want the just remembered. Yeah, we have some vaccine.
yeah, I think we have some in the back. No, I don't want that. Yeah, I don't want the forgotten ones. I want
I
the
know.
ones that we have that
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Call Karen. See if she still has some in her fridge from February. Yeah, just wait right here. Wow. Yeah.
Exactly.
I hate people. So like, like
Yeah.
man's inhumanity to man is so like it's so catastrophic,
Yeah,
right?
it's
It's so
horrible.
horrible, and all
It's horrible.
these graves that are
Ugh.
they're yeah, it's like all the whole thing that's going on. In fact, I even told it, this is great. I totally forgot it's Canada Day. Like it's Canada Day
Yeah.
right now, and
This is the first Canada Day that I haven't posted anything like
uh,
Canada Day related.
I lived in Ottawa for 4 years, and I actually flew back twice to spend Canada Day on Parliament Hill because the whole like
Yeah, because
Rideau
I remember
shut
I was always
down
like,
and
1 year I want to spend Canada Day in Ottawa.
yeah.
This is my,
Congratulations
yeah.
on goal met.
Yeah, that's my third one, but I've never like done anything like couldn't do anything last year. And then the first summer I was here 19, I didn't know my way around that much to, um, because I was
Without
like, where am I
giving
going to
away
park? And, yeah.
without giving away your exact location, what area in Ottawa? Like, where are you? Are you close to
I'm like
downtown? Are you close to
south. I'm like South Keys area.
South Key?
So like Hunt Club and
Okay,
Bank.
yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
that
Someone
area.
tells me go north, I'll just be like, can you not be like
Yeah.
that, please?
Yeah,
Like,
so I'm south. Yeah,
all
going
right,
north,
yeah. Okay.
you get to Gatineau, so I'm south. But I'm like 15 minutes from downtown by car. Like
Okay.
it's quick to get downtown.
I learned in BC to I knew where everything was because of the mountains. So when I moved back
Mm.
to Ontario 11 years ago, I've been lost ever since. Wherever I'm facing is north. I'm looking at it right now. Right now, that's north.
Because where am I? I think north is this way. I'm facing north,
Okay.
I
You could be,
think.
I don't even know what that means. So,
But yeah, like when I was in Toronto, the tower was south. If I could see the tower, if I'm looking at the tower was south,
okay.
depending where I was, you
Yeah,
know.
you're like, just find new
Yeah,
landmarks.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah,
I'm
and
not
I
in
can't see
Alberta.
anything from here.
Yeah. Are you the friend that people go to, like that your peers go to when they are when they're struggling emotionally, or do you find that you're the one that needs to reach out for support when you're having a hard time?
I'm usually the one that people reach out to.
Mhm.
Yeah. And for some strange reason, I'm totally okay with people like coming to me and saying like I'm struggling, I'm having a hard time. I have a hard time,
Reaching out.
reaching out. Yeah, I have a hard time reaching out.
That phone is the heaviest thing on the
Yeah.
planet when I feel,
Yeah.
yeah,
But like
I
I love it when people, trust me enough or feel comfortable enough with me to contact me,
yeah,
for an ear and everything. I love it, but
yeah.
I have a hard time
When
doing
pe
it
when
myself.
people are I feel like it's people contacting me saying like, "Hey, you've lost your shit in an absolute meltdown." Um, I feel like I'm going there. What advice would you give me to
Yeah.
not end up where you did? Like,
Exactly. How do I avoid doing what you've done?
I know. So, like,
How do
how
I
do I
not end up where you are? Yeah.
that's right. What would your advice be if short of, making sure that your friend was in a safe position, like they didn't have a plan, they weren't actually,
Mhm.
but they called you in crisis. They called you and they would need some advice. They're in crisis and you've established that they're safe. What would you tell them in that moment?
Um, I would tell them that like I'll talk to them for as long as they want to talk to me. If they want to spend the whole night on the phone with me, I have nowhere to go. I will listen. If it's a matter of if I can get to them, I'll go. I'll go to them. Um, but I think the big thing would be to reassure them that they're not going to feel like this forever. Like right now, it sucks. It feels awful. It feels like you'll never recover from this, but you will. And I've said that to a few friends over the last year, where it's like, I promise you, you will feel better. It will
This
get better. Yeah.
this too shall pass
Yes.
is has worked its way into my dialogue.
Yeah.
I understand that it's Lord of the Rings,
Hmm.
but it qualifies.
Yeah. And it's true. Like in the moment, it feels like the most horrible feeling, but it passes.
And as two anxiety sufferers, you and I, and maybe you could qualify this as well, I say without a shadow of a doubt, if you're in that place, I don't care. Call me.
Yeah.
Call me, text me, right? It's
Yeah.
good and it's not a burden. So
Yeah.
and you
Exactly. It
feel
doesn't
like
matter what
that
time. Yeah.
because
If
we've
you
been there.
Exactly, because we know what it feels like to feel alone.
That's
Like I've
right.
never been alone, but it's like I've felt like I couldn't reach out.
That's the
Um,
lie, right? How
mhm.
how many times have you sat there thinking, well, everybody hates me anyway, or
Oh God, yeah,
like
yeah. I think like that all the time. Yeah,
I think about calling specific people, but when I'm happy and I'm feeling good, I almost want to make a list of the people that when I'm in my right mind that I can call no matter what, so that I can read it when I'm in the lie.
Hmm.
right? So I know that it's okay to call those people, but that
Yeah.
involves, like journaling or writing shit down. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I have people who tell me that all the time because they know that I won't reach out.
Mhm.
That they're like, if you can call me any single time. You've got all my numbers. You know how to reach me. You know where I am.
Mhm.
Don't forget that. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
I'm in love with texting world though, because the phone is the hardest thing to pick up, but sometimes
Hmm.
I can sort of chit chat with a friend. I
Yeah.
this this has been really really hard on the comedy community, on comedians specifically. I
Hmm.
feel like we sort of like between hospitalizations and suicides, it's been a rough 14 months, probably like more so than, and it's not that I'm astute to it now. I'm very very aware. Have you found that people that you're talking to in your interviews have been suffering like wildly emotionally as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And what I've noticed is that this last lockdown has seemed to affect people the worst. Like more than the first one or the second one. It's this last one that started in like March that we're just starting to come out of now in Ontario. This one has been the tough one for a lot, myself included, where it's just I don't know if it's because we were locked down for what 6 months and then it opened up and there were lockdown, open up. I don't know if it's that uncertainty, but this one for whatever reason hit really, really hard.
Because when
And
you've been in it's like an abusive relationship. I don't want to say like with the government, because I mean, I don't feel like it's their thing, right? But they say, okay, well, open up, close, open up, close. That I feel like we've just been told so many times. It's like when the guy says to you, okay, oh, I'll never do that again or something,
yeah,
right? And you're like, oh, okay, really? By
and
the
then 2 weeks
third,
are great.
fourth
And then
time, you're like, you know what? Fuck you.
yeah,
I
you
don't
just
believe
lie.
you. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
You
They're
lie.
like, "No, really this time," right? Like,
Yeah.
am I really I won't believe that I'm on a stage until I'm physically on a stage
On a
tomorrow,
stage. Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
and I would love it if you would, shoot me a message and tell me how it went tonight
I will.
and
I will for
how you
sure.
felt, and thank you so, 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 so much for this. This is probably
Oh
the
no, thank you.
this is like the
Thank you.
longest interview I've done. It'll be like part 6 with Simone Holder.
Yeah. All of July.
That's right. We just do 20 minutes for every month. Would that be okay? I really appreciate that you've been on, and I'm gonna put up the whole thing on YouTube uncut. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I really enjoyed this very much, and I enjoy your
Thank you. I
show.
did too. I
And
did too.
enjoy the rest of your Canada Day celebrations.
Thank you. You too.